Hi there, I'm Sarah, and today we're visiting a fort in Florida that most people have never heard of. And honestly, that's kind of the point. You've probably seen Castillo de San Marcos if you've spent any time in St. Augustine. It's hard to miss. Massive, right in the heart of the city, plastered on every tourist brochure, but about 14 miles south, tucked away on a tiny island you can only reach by ferry, sits a fort that quietly did its job for centuries without much fanfare. It's called Fort Matanzas. It's free to visit, and in my opinion, it is absolutely worth your time. I'm going to walk you through everything: the history of the ferry, what it's actually like at the fort, and all the tips you need to make the most of your visit. Let's start with a little history, because this place has a story worth knowing. Fort Matanzas is a small coquina watchtower built by the Spanish in 1742. And its entire purpose was one thing: to protect St. Augustine from the south. The strategy was simple but effective. If an enemy ship tried to sneak up the Matanzas River to flank the city from behind, the soldiers stationed at this fort would spot them and fire a warning shot. That's it. Just, we see you, now turn around. And you know what? It worked. Sometimes the threat of defense is all the defense you need. Now, about that name, Matanzas. It's the Spanish word for slaughter or massacre, and it comes from something that happened right at this inlet back in 1565. A massacre that predates the fort itself by almost 2 centuries. It's one of those details the park ranger shares that makes you stop and look at the water a little differently. The landscape has history soaked into it. Unlike Castillo de San Marcos, Fort Matanzas is small, quiet. There's no gift shop, no crowds pouring through the main gate. It's just a historic watchtower on a little island waiting for you to come and find it. When you turn in from A1A, you'll find the visitor center on the right by the Intracoastal as you circle around to the parking lot. I didn't have an issue parking on either of my visits, but I did see signs for overflow parking if needed. Head inside to the office on the right. The staff there is friendly and helpful. You'll tell them which ferry time you want, and if there's room, they hand you a ticket, and you're all set. If you've got time before your ferry, and I'd encourage you to arrive early enough that you do, there are actually a couple of nature trails to explore. One is a sandy trail and one is a boardwalk. I went with the boardwalk since I was in sandals, and honestly, it was a beautiful and shaded walk. At the start of the trail, there's a QR code that links to a page on the National Park Service site. It's numbered to match markers along the boardwalk, so you can walk at your own pace and read about the Florida wildlife surrounding you. The trail winds through a forest and leads out toward the Intracoastal Waterway. It's peaceful, it's pretty, and it's a great way to spend 30 minutes or so while you wait. If trails aren't your thing, there are also picnic tables under some gorgeous trees near the parking area. Bring a lunch, sit in the shade, and relax. Just know that no food or drinks are allowed on the ferry or at the fort. Water only is permitted, so keep that in mind. 10 minutes before your ferry time, make your way to the outdoor waiting area. It's shaded and there are benches, so it's comfortable. The ranger will give you a quick safety briefing and go over some basic etiquette for this historic site. Then you show your ticket, walk down the dock, and board. The ferry itself is open on the sides but covered overhead, so you get some protection from the sun. There are bench seats on each side, and the ride, about 5 minutes. You can literally see the fort from the dock. It's that close, just across the Matanzas River. Short, easy, and honestly a little charming. There's something about arriving somewhere by boat that just makes everything feel like more of an adventure. Once you dock, the ranger leads your group to a grassy area right outside the fort. This is where you get the full history. About 10 minutes of storytelling about the Spanish, the French, how the fort was used, and how nature itself played a role in some of the fort's history. It's genuinely interesting, not dry, textbook stuff, the kind of history that makes you look at the landscape and think about the people who stood in this exact spot. After the ranger talk, those who are comfortable climbing a ladder are encouraged to head up first. And yes, you get up to the top of the tower via a wooden ladder through a fairly narrow opening. It feels completely appropriate for a 1742 watchtower. But here's why the ranger's approach is smart. Having everyone who wants to climb do it together means you're not navigating people going up while others are trying to come down. It keeps things safe and easy. And when you get to the top, the view is stunning. You can see for miles in every direction. The river, the ocean, the sandbars, the coastline. On a clear day, it is genuinely one of the most beautiful views in Florida. Just a heads up, some people find climbing back down trickier than going up. The ranger will tell you the same thing. If you're not fully confident, it's okay to skip it. You can still enjoy everything else. Inside the fort, on the level where the soldiers lived and worked, there are displays showing what daily life looked like at this outpost. It puts things in perspective pretty quickly. These soldiers were stationed here, sometimes for long stretches, watching a river. Outside on the lower level, you'll find the cannons, pointed directly toward where the river meets the ocean. Strategically, this placement meant that any enemy approaching from the south could be seen long before they got close to St. Augustine. Most of the time, enemy ships would simply turn around when they spotted the fort. After the ranger talk, you have about 20 minutes on your own to explore, take photos, and soak it all in. The fort is small, so that's plenty of time. And honestly, with very little shade at midday, you might be ready to head back to the boat right around then anyway. The whole experience, the safety briefing, ferry over, ranger talk, exploring the fort, ferry back, takes about an hour. Okay, here are the things you absolutely need to know before you show up. First, and this is the best part, it is completely free. No entrance fee, no ferry fee, nothing. You just show up, get a ticket, and go. The ferry runs Thursday through Monday, no service on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, so plan around that. Also, ferries can be canceled for any reason, but will always be canceled for lightning, so keep that in mind. If you're visiting in summer, go in the morning. Florida afternoon thunderstorms are common. Morning visits also mean cooler temperatures and less direct sun on that shadeless fort. Ferries depart every hour starting at 9:30 in the morning, with the last one leaving at 3:30 in the afternoon. Tickets are first come, first serve. You cannot reserve them in advance. You have to pick them up in person at the visitor center on the day of your visit. If you're visiting on a busy weekend and you're worried about availability, you can call ahead to ask how spots are looking for the remaining ferries that day, but you cannot hold a spot. Just know that going in. One more thing, arrive early. You will be asked to be in the waiting area at least 10 minutes before your ferry for a safety briefing. I'd suggest giving yourself at least 20 minutes so you have time to get your ticket and use the restroom. Because there are no restrooms on the boat and there are no restrooms at the fort. The only bathrooms are in the parking area, so use them before you go. Fort Matanzas sits in a genuinely beautiful spot. Right nearby is Crescent Beach. After my tour, I grabbed lunch in St. Augustine Beach, which is only about 15 minutes up the road, and then I came back to spend time lounging on the white sand. At low tide, sandbars appear on the intracoastal side, which are fun to explore. And regardless of tide, you can walk under the bridge between the ocean and intracoastal side. It's tucked away, it doesn't get too crowded with the limited parking, and it's gorgeous. If you're coming from Daytona Beach, this makes an easy day trip. Drive up, do the fort, grab food in Flagler Beach or St. Augustine, and you've got a full day. If you're already in St. Augustine, it's a quick trip south that pairs really well with everything else the city has to offer. Fort Matanzas is one of those places that reminds you Florida has more layers to it than most people expect. It's not flashy, it's not big, but it's free, it's fascinating, and it offers a perspective on Florida history that even a lot of locals have never experienced. If you're anywhere near St. Augustine, put this on your list as there are very few free things to do in St. Augustine. If this helped you plan your visit, hit like and subscribe for more travel guides, and drop a comment below if you've been to Fort Matanzas. I'd love to know what you thought. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye!